thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara. And today, Miss Carren isn't here. It's a public holiday, actually, in Queensland. And Carren's working, or she had bookings or something like that. But we have a wonderful guest today. And Kim, Carren and I met Helen at the Wellness Summit because she is one of the podcasters for the Wellness Couch, and her podcast is called Primal Alternative Podcast. And did you know, like when I was reading her bio, did you know that the Wellness Couch, which is the #1 ranked health and wellness podcast station in Australia, just in case nobody knew that on Up for a Chat, I thought we'd just say it. But we met Helen at the summit, and she gave, well, I don't know if she gave you, Kim, but she gave me cookies and bread. And anybody who gives me cookies and bread is my best friend for life. And I ate the cookies on my way home, and then the bread I shared with my family. I didn't want to share the cookies with my family. No, that's not true. I did share the cookies with my family. But the bread was absolutely stunning. So then I started to ask Helen questions, and rather than me giving you the answers as to what Helen is doing, I think what we'll start with is, Helen, what happened to you that got you on the wellness pathway?
Well, hello, Cyndi. Hey, Kimmy. So nice to be here. I hope Carren doesn't get too much FOMO when she finds out what a cool, fun chat we're going to have today.
Yes, she'll get FOMO.
She will. And I know, I'm sorry, Kim, I didn't give Kim any bread or cookies. And I'm thinking, oh, Cyndi, shush. Shush. So I'm going to, you know what? It was really, really cool meeting you, Cyndi, and you, Kimmy, and having a big hug and getting your amazing book, Kim. But I really wanted to get a selfie with Cyndi. I was like, I'm going to the Wellness Summit. I just want to have a selfie with Cyndi, you know? So, and I thought, I'll just grab a loaf of bread and take that as well. And talking to Cyndi, I just love your curiosity and your passion for, and your interest in what other people are doing, you know, because you were like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And tell me about this. And I want you on my podcast. And I was like, oh my goodness, I nearly fell over. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. It's so cool. It's so cool. So I'll share my story with you. So basically what happened was I've tried all my life to be really healthy. So that involved following conventional wisdom advice of a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet with extreme amounts of exercise. So back in the day, I was an aerobics instructor, so I qualified as an aerobics instructor, showing my age. Yes, I used to wear the up-the-bum lycra leotard and the...
Yep, I know that look.
Been there. It's actually a good look, actually. I think it should come back, that look. It was a good look. It was a good look. So I used to teach aerobics from the age of 14, which was like back in 1989, and worked in the gym industry for 10 years. And every woman that I saw, their definition of, you know, their health goal was to lose weight and tone up. There was never any like connection between food and mood, or, you know, what you ate and chronic health conditions. It was just all around calories in, calories out, and trying to get as tiny as you could possibly be. So that was what my motive was, because that was really all the knowledge was out there at that time. And so I did that for 25 years, lived that way, and wouldn't so much as eat olive oil on a salad. I wouldn't touch avocado, wouldn't definitely cut all of the fat and all of the skin off all of the cuts of meat that I ate. And so lived that really depressing way of eating for a long time, and had quite a number, when I look back with the beauty of hindsight, had quite a lot of health issues going on. Like I had quite a lot of anxiety and depression, not necessarily really bad depression, but a little bit flat. most of the time, which I didn't know why. And then when I went on to have my kids, it was really almost like the straw on the camel's back in terms of what my system could cope with to produce. And I was so lucky, I got pregnant really quickly with both of my kids and had really easy pregnancies and amazing home births, and I breastfed and everything that I wanted to do. But, just that constantness of creating a human being and then nurturing that human being and being there any time of the day, it really is a stress on the system. And at the age of 38, I was in a real soup of a toxic health crisis. So what it looked like was the overriding symptom was nausea. So I just felt sick all the time. So as you can imagine, my world got pretty small. I didn't want to go anywhere. So I wouldn't fly because I developed a fear of flying. Like I had developed phobias around flying and around my kids getting sick. So I used to obsess about, what was the latest lurgy going around the school, and oh my God, were my kids going to get it? And even though, I'm quite a bubbly, upbeat person, even though I knew this wasn't really me that was thinking these thoughts, I knew something else was kind of in control here. I couldn't do anything to get my mind away from these dark thoughts. It was just like in this tunnel of negativity and overwhelm. It was a really mental health wise, it was a really horrible place to be. I couldn't poo. I couldn't sleep. I was so jumpy. That feeling when you've so wired, it feels like you've had like 10 espressos and something happens, you're like, oh, and you jump into everything. That's how I was all of the time. And and that was from, eating a low-fat diet, eating a lot of carbohydrates and exercising a lot and not placing any emphasis on rest or nurturing myself. To me, self-love was being high maintenance. If you needed to, if you wanted to have a bath or having a massage, that kind of thing, it was very a luxury. And you should be doing something more productive with your time, in essence, okay? So in my sort of dark night of the soul, if you like, I was sat on the couch talking to my husband, who's a Kiwi. He's a good bloke. And he was really stressed. He was really stressed out about it, because he just wanted me to be well. And he was like, "Oh, girl, I don't like seeing you like this, eh? I just want you to feel better. Come on, girl, what are we going to do to get you? What are we going to do to get you sorted out?" And I said, "Well, I think I need to go and see a naturopath and work out what's going on." But we were just a one-parent family. I wasn't working. Sorry, a one-income family. And I wasn't working, and the thought of going to a naturopath just seemed too expensive and not something that was out of reach. And I said, the naturopath's just going to tell me to go gluten-free. And I don't know where that little nugget of wisdom came from, but it came through me, and I just thought, right, gluten-free, I can do this. So I just went out the next day, really motivated again. Right, now I'm gluten-free, I can do this. Went out and bought gluten-free bread, gluten-free pasta, gluten-free cookies, gluten-free pizzas, and came home and found them to be just extremely disappointing. It's probably the best way. It was like, I can't eat this. This is not very nice at all. And anyway, what's in them? What's in these products? It's just like things I've never heard of. I was like, well, I don't think that's meant to be, to be consumed by humans. So anyway, a very good friend of mine, Kirsty, said to me, look, if you're going to go gluten-free, why don't you try paleo? So I'd never heard of paleo before, but a couple of clicks on Google, soon found Mark's Daily Apple and delved into the world of primal living. Couldn't believe how quickly I felt better. Like, probably took a good 6 weeks before my nausea went. But in terms of that moment where your life goes from that 2-dimensional drudge to this 3-dimensional, that feeling where the colours look more beautiful and everything seems to have a lot more purpose and meaning, and you have this deeper sense of connection. That happened really, very quickly. And I got really evangelical, thinking of all those women I'd spoken to in the gyms for those 10 years and giving them all of this flawed advice. And I was like, holy crap, I really need to reach out and help other women. Who knew that you could feel so better just by changing the foods that you eat and moving to grass-fed, wild-caught protein and some beautiful seasonal spray-free vegetables and some fat. Hallelujah! Let's get some fat into the diet. Everything tastes so much better. So I qualified as a primal health coach so that I could help other women know that they weren't on their own in their health journey and that they too could reclaim their health. And I got kickback. So, I was telling people, do this and eat this food. And they'd say to me, Helen, like, you spend so much time in the kitchen, but I don't have the time to do that. I've got a full-time job and it's okay on a Monday. I'm like pretty highly motivated on a Monday, chopping all my vegetables and slow cooking my meats and doing my broth and my sauerkraut and everything else that you've got to do to really embrace a primal lifestyle. But by the end of the week, I'm exhausted and I'm reaching for the takeaway menu and I'm feeling like I'm falling off the wagon. So I just finish off this bottle of red wine and I polish off that Haagen-Dazs ice cream in the freezer. And then come Saturday, I really feel like all of my good work has been unraveled and I'm feeling like crap. So I said, I totally understand. I know where you're coming from. Would you like it if I made some food for you? And at that time, like 3 people put their hand up and said, oh, I'd buy something off you. Yeah, for sure. So that's when my food range was created. And when I first started, it was literally everything, like I wanted to make cereal for people and bone broth and cashew milk and dinners and bread and pizza and everything, until the local friendly environmental health officer told me that you can I think we all start off a bit illegally, don't we, when we start off with a passion, but that, there was only so many low risk products that I could bake from home. And that was actually a real blessing in disguise, because I could just nail certain products, not try and be everything for everyone, because I'd tell you what, if that's what I'd continued with, I would have burnt out by now and just have been thrown the towel in. But to just really specialize and to have this streamlined home business also meant that I could contribute to my community and make a difference to make it easier for people to stick to this way of living. But it also meant that I could be at home, because I really wanted to, after 10 years in the corporate world, I had to give that up when I had kids. And I found it really hard to find a job that aligned with my passions, but also meant that I could be there when the school bus got home and I could, take time off in the school holidays and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, sorry, this is a long story, but I'm nearly finished.
No, it's a good story. It's like it's so engaging, Helen. So keep going.
Good. Okay. Good. All right. I shall continue. So meanwhile, my health had continued to increase. It was on an upward trajectory. And I was doing some personal development work with a mentor. And she asked me all these really annoying questions, right? Like, what's your values in life? And how do you want to go throughout your day feeling? And if you could do anything and know you wouldn't fail, what would you do? Like, all of these real deep soul searching questions that I'd never had time for or inclination for in the past, right? So I very annoyingly did it all because, I like to do what my mentor says that I should do. So I did it and I was quite pissed off doing it, to be honest, like, what a waste of time, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it only changed my life because I was literally, I did this annoying questionnaire over the weekend. And then on a Tuesday, I was just sat at my desk, which is the kitchen table, right? Sat at my desk and minding my own business. And I just had one of those blips in time where you're completely present and there's no thoughts in your head. And literally, it was like a little idea was popped into my head, like a little hatchling bird. And it said, franchise your baking business so that you can get these products to the whole of Australia and create business opportunities for other mums like you who've got a passion for clean living, who want to work from home, who love to bake, who want to help other people, and to run group online health coaching programs too, so that other women could hold each other accountable and to create a kind of sisterhood that a lot of us women are really yearning for. So I thought, oh shit. It was like, I just really thought, okay, I just feel like this is my calling. This is what I'm here for. And I haven't got a clue about franchising. And I think it sounds like a dirty word. And I'm a bit scared. And what if I get, deported back to England? I had all these like real big fears. But I just really felt like this is something that I had to do. So I just very blindly put one foot in front of the other. And even though I didn't know what 5, 6, and 7 were going to look like, I just knew what I had to do for 1, 2, and 3. So I did. And on Boxing Day 2016, I launched my website, primalalternative.com, and launched my baking franchise. And to date, so in like nearly 2 years, 65 incredible women have said yes to this opportunity. How cool is that for a story?
That is incredible. 65. Wow. I think when I was at the summit, it was 40 something. So have you grown that much since the summit?
Yeah. There's been in the last school term, the 15 new primalistas. Yeah. So that would be right.
I think you were late in the 40s, and I'm like going, wow, that's really good.
No, 65.
And 65, that's brilliant. And that's throughout Australia?
Yeah, throughout Australia. Yeah.
Helen, I'd love to ask you, when you were talking the story, many years ago I had an opportunity where I'd made these vegetarian sausage rolls, and they were scrumptious. No one knew that they weren't meat, but everyone loved them, and a local cafe asked me to start making them. So for a year I made sausage rolls for nothing, just to see if I could eventually get them into supermarkets and to do all this thing. I got so bored making them, and I was so done. How did you not lose interest and faith when you are, because the idea is great, and is it because you ended up franchising, or what got you through? Because I can't imagine it was just all as easy as the story sounds. There would have been some pretty tough choices, decisions, and moments, I would imagine. Is that fair?
Oh gosh, yeah, totally, Kim. Really, I think that, and you'll know too, that having your own business is the biggest personal growth lesson you can ever have. Like, because whatever shiz you've got in there, right, that needs to come up, if in order for you to, transcend any limiting beliefs you've got on yourself, and really change your ideas around what you're capable of. There's so many speed bumps along the way, and it's if I look back at all the experiences I've had over that 2 years, I never would have started it, because you're like, holy crap, that sounds too difficult. That surely there's an easier route to achieve what I want to achieve. But you look at looking back, it was hard, but it's all been so fulfilling and so worth it. But I produced the products myself for 18 months. And I think and I get bored so quickly, Kim, but I think the thing that kept me going was the fact that it was really streamlined. So I didn't overwhelm myself with a million different products to make. And I had a really good system. Like, I really scheduled my week. So it was like, this day I'm baking, this day I'm seeing my best friend for a coffee, this day I'm having a massage, this day I'm at the markets, so I kept that variety in my week. And I guess I just liked the fact that, it was, for me, it was a lot of inside, on my own, in the house, with the music cranking, baking, barefoot in my kitchen, just really nice cave time, if you like, if you want to talk primal. And then at the end of the week, I was having this massive social immersion at my local community markets, having that banter with the other market stall holders, and trading some of Mandy's homemade sauerkraut for my bread. So just for me, it was really, I didn't get bored, to be fair, although it was tough. Hope that answers your question.
And can you tell us then? Yeah, it does. And also too, I think you're on a wave, and sometimes people say, luck, what is luck? And I think it's when opportunity meets desire and planning, and obviously you had those, there was no luck in it, but the timing of your products could not have been, I don't think, at a better time as far as awareness around paleo, or at least Paleolithic, and certainly thinking about gluten-free in a healthy way. tell us about how your family has grown with you through this. Tell us about your family and also how you have guided and driven this with them all in tow as well.
Well, when I first said to Mike, that's my husband, that we were going to go paleo, he said, oh, well, we're not doing this without cookies. So really, in a way, he was the one that started Primal Alternative, because I had to tweak our family favourite cookie recipe to remove the grains, remove the refined sugars, and, you know, get better quality chocolate chips in there and that kind of thing. So, and really, you know, like Michael, anything that I put down in front of him, he thinks all of my food is delicious. And Millie, who's our 8-year-old daughter, she's the same. There's one time we were painting the kitchen walls green, and you know when you finish painting and you put your paintbrush in a jar of water because you think that one day you'll clean it, but you never do. You know what I mean? Well, she saw that dirty green paint water and said, "Well, Mummy, can I try that green smoothie?" You know, so that gives you an idea of how adventurous she is. Whereas my son Sam is less adventurous, so he's really he's a bit of a carnivore kid, really. And I guess it's just that kind of, he's 11, so I guess it's just that kind of preteen stage where they just try to, anything that you're into, they're like not into, you know. So if I say this is paleo or primal, I don't want to try that, I don't like it, you know. But he loves my pizza bases, he loves the cookies, and my daughter Millie loves the pumpkin bread all year round. That's what she likes to have for her breakfast. And I like, you know, that that the food that, even though, you know, it's bread, it's not bread at all. It's vegetables and free-range eggs and nuts and all good whole food ingredients that are like disguised as products that we like, you know. Like for me, like I really would struggle, and everybody in my family would struggle to do this journey purely on just plants and animals. And even though it's nice to, you know, most days we'll have meat and 3 veg for dinner, and most days I'll have a salad for lunch, on those days where you just want like sardines on toast or cheese on toast or Friday night pizza night, it just makes you feel like you're not deprived and you're not missing out. And I think that's, for me, that's the key with my family, is to make sure they don't feel like they're the weird family that can't eat what all the other kids are having. So to really keep it fun and deprivation free means it's a lot easier to keep everybody on board.
No, I agree with you definitely with that. But it's also, as the kids get older, I just want you to know they like being weird.
Oh, do they? Oh, that's something to look forward to then.
Well, I have 20-year-olds, you know, mine are 24, 27 and 29. And my daughter actually said to me recently, my youngest daughter said to me, you know, Mum, it's really cool that I was home birthed and, you know, I've never had any drugs, and, you know, nobody in my era seems to be able to say that. So she says, I want to thank you, even though I was really angry with you, because we did a podcast with her, didn't we, Kim? And it was like I didn't want to be that person that was different. So it will come back. I want you to know, Helen, it will come back.
Well, now, I look forward to that.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about becoming a primal coach. So, you know, you said you went to Mark's Daily Apple, and, you know, I was very fortunate to meet Mark Sissons, and like he was in his 60s, and I had 3 hours of chatting with him, and oh my gosh, he is divine, absolutely divine. So tell me, you know, did you get to meet him, or did you just do it online, becoming a primal coach?
I'm so jealous that you've met Mark, because that is like, it's so on my bucket list. And last year he had like an inaugural at home with Mark kind of event for primal health coaches, and I said to Mike, I said, oh, I really want to go, but it was a little bit out of reach. But I have promised, it was a little bit out of reach for then, but I've promised myself that I will get to see him one day, but I haven't met him yet. No, his primal health coaching course is a comprehensive online kind of multimedia course, so it was really doable for me. So I'm not really good at reading stuff anymore. I did a degree when I was when I left school, and For me, sitting down and reading things is just, it's too time consuming for me now. So you could actually listen to, because I'm a big podcast listener, like I just love it. So while I was baking, I would just listen to the audio version of the course material, and then I could sit down and sit the exam on my computer after I'd finished baking. So for me, it was perfect, a really perfect way to learn. So I haven't met him yet, but I will. And I was really surprised because he was doing a webinar about the Primal Health Coaching course, because I've featured as a Primal Primal Lifestyle success story, and also featured as a Primal Health Coach success story. And he's got me down as one of his, what does he call them? Like, I can't remember, but kind of his kind of gung-ho primal health coaches, which is a bit exciting. And in one of his webinars with Christine Hasler, he used me as an example, and he said, "Oh, I think Helen could take over the world." And I've got it written down. On my vision board. Mark Sisson said Helen could take over the world. So who am I to stand in my own way of that?
See, what we don't realise is that, you know, when you meet these people, they have their story. It's like you, Helen. You have your story, and they're consistent, they're persistent. They want to tell what happened to them and how good they feel. And they're just like, people don't realise, they're just like anybody else. They're like you and me. They're like Kimmy. They're like Carren. We just have a story to tell, and we just want to get the word out there because we become, as you said, evangelists. We know how good we can feel. We see people and we go, but I know what you could do to change that. Like today, I was talking to some swimming friends, and they were talking about their daughter who has a genetic issue. But I looked at her and she's a sugar fiend. An absolute sugar fiend. And I thought, imagine what your potential could be if you would change what you're doing right now. Like, she had a ring of chocolate milk around her at 6 a.m, you know. So I you know, you do become an evangelist. You do want to tell them. Sometimes you just got to shut your mouth because they don't want to listen to you. But and Mark is like that. He's just this beautiful, beautiful man, willing to give all he can in order to teach the world. And, you know, he was part of my documentary, What's with Wheat, and he was brilliant in everything that he said. I saw him again this year in USA. I happened to just bump into him.
No.
Yes, I did. And I couldn't believe it. I was with my husband and I saw him and I went, Mark, and he recognized me and he said, "Hi, Cyndi," and I introduced him to Howie, and that's what he's like. He's just this beautiful, beautiful man. So hopefully you'll get to meet him and you'll realise that he'll want to meet you if you've done that. Hey, let's get him to Australia. That's what we should do.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that he was going to come over to Australia at some point. But he hasn't. So, you know, you've got a great connection with him, Cyndi. So I reckon you should get onto him and bring him to Australia. Do that. That's much easier than getting to America. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Now, I do have another question before Kimmy gets in, because I know she wants to probably get in. But I want to know what you did before this, your corporate life. What did you study at school, and being in the corporate world? What was it that you were doing?
Well, at uni I studied leisure studies, which is basically a business degree for the leisure industry, which, you know, it was, I don't know if it is anymore, but it was a booming industry. And the reason I got out of the leisure industry was the hours were crap, the pay was crap. And at the time, I was a gym instructor being paid £3.50 an hour. And I was working in a really prestigious health club in the Hilton, in the chain of the Hilton hotels. And I was at the Hilton Hotel in Leeds. And it was during the time that the IRA were bombing Hilton hotels. And I was in the service lift one day with a brown, like, unidentified box. And, you know, just have that moment and you're like, holy shit, like this, you know, I could get blown up here. And is this, it wasn't so much like the fear of that, but it was like, is this what I really want to be doing with my life? You know, and I just really felt like there was more to it. And actually what I really wanted to do was to travel. So I needed to get a better paying job with more sensible hours so I could get some money together to travel, because I didn't know why I needed to travel. But obviously it's apparent now because I was meant to live in Australia because I absolutely feel like this is my soul home. And living here down on the south coast in Albany, even though it's so far away from where everything's going on, you know, like for me to come to the wellness summit is like a 13-hour trip of flying and, you know, driving. It's so worth it, you know, for me to come back here because this is where I'm really meant to be. And obviously I needed to travel to meet my husband. So that's what I did. In my corporate career, Cyndi, I was a recruiter. So I was a business manager for a large recruitment firm, which ironically, although nothing is ironic, I was helping women find jobs. And the women that I was helping were accounting support staff. So people that did payroll, accounts payable, credit control, that kind of thing. And all of these women had kids. And I would hear about the dramas that they had trying to find a job that fit around the family. And, you know, I'd see women who were really smart having to take a step back in their career just to get something that fitted around school hours or because they'd had a stint of time out of their career bringing up their kids. And I remember thinking, this is so freaking unfair. And just that pull, you know, of working mums trying to find that balance between being there for the kids and contributing to the family income. So for me, this really answers that need. And, you know, like it just kind of, when you look back at all of the things you've done in your life, you know, what I'm doing now is just a mesh of all of those skills coming together, which is totally fulfilling for me. So cool.
Yeah, it is quite amazing that you were doing that, but you're still kind of doing it now in that you are recruiting women that want to work from home and can do this at home. And I just like, it's almost like we're getting back to where we can be at home, be with our children, and this is probably the best place for us to be. As Kim and I love to quote our dear friend Natasha Campbell McBride, it's time to get back into the kitchen, to feed and nurture your family, to heal a nation. And I think, you know, that enabling people to do this, because not everyone's going to be able to do it, but enabling people to do this will make such a difference to not only their own lives, but the lives of the people that they're sharing the food with. So my question is, how do you recruit, number one? Number two, how much time does it take? Number three, are the recipes clear? And can you just go through that whole scenario for us?
Sure. Well, the recruitment process is pretty comprehensive. Obviously, with my recruitment background, that's one of the things that I haven't had a lot of trouble with. And every single, I don't know if I just really feel that, you know, if I hadn't done this, somebody else would. I just really feel like the universe has got different things that it wants to manifest. And if I hadn't created this, then the idea would have floated to somebody else and somebody else would be doing it, right? So I don't ever think it's, oh, wow, what a great idea I've had, because it totally wasn't my idea. So in that, you know, I'm always amazed that all of the women who've come to Primal Alternative are incredible. Like, we've had no bad eggs. You know, there's not been any bad recruits. You know, it's just been amazing. In fact, when I tried to imagine this national network of local producers and this sisterhood, I had like an idea of how I wanted it to look. I wanted us to all communicate really well with each other and collaborate and not compete, you know. So like you may have seen at the Wellness Summit, there was 12 primalistas there, all chipping in, all splitting the cost of the event and the cost of in sharing the profits and helping each other out. And, you know, it's just amazing. And everybody that comes to Primal Alternative loves that sisterhood feel. You know, you can share your bad days, you can share your good days, and there'll be somebody there to, you know, throw a lap of the house and celebrate when something cool's happened for you, you know what I mean? So, which is really cool. So anyway, back to your question. So for the recruitment process, I host a demo every fortnight in my closed Facebook group, Potential Primalistas, which has got 600 women in there, which is bonkers. And so people get to really understand what it's all about. And then once they've had a really good look at the demo and they've checked out the website and that kind of thing, then they can book in for something called a Primalista discovery call with me. And that's not a sales call. That's really looking at how this opportunity could look in this person's life. So we look at what time have they got available, because most people are already pretty maxed out with time. So we need to look at how it can fit in. And we look at what potential stockists they've got in the area to work out if it's viable or not, because obviously I don't know every single area and every single town in Australia. So we look at those sorts of things. And I'm also obviously getting a feel for whether I think they're a good fit for Primal Alternative or not. Then after that, they go away and think about it for 2 weeks. And if they're still keen after that, then we have another catch-up call and we'll get them signed up. And there's a cooling off period and all sorts of different things to it. So I really find that by the time somebody comes on board as a fully fledged Primalista, they're absolutely a perfect fit and they're ready to go. But to make this work, I really had to make sure that the franchise model was easy and replicable. Otherwise, it would just totally die on its ass, basically. So all of the recipes are what I call faff-free. And I have to say that really clearly because everyone thinks I'm saying fat-free. And they're like, huh? I thought you were primal and that's got lots of fat in it. So fuss-free is like the Aussie way of saying it. So the recipes are simply like measure, mix and bake. And these, like, there's no artisan baking skills required at all. So you can really get through these recipes without it being way too taxing. Way too taxing on you. Yeah, so I think that the way that it's evolved and developed has worked out really well. Touch wood, so far.
I love your recruiting skills. That is just absolutely brilliant.
In this day and age when we have things like, multi-level marketing, direct selling, we've got, things like Tupperware and things like, I'm just gone blank with the bras and things. What are they?
Oh, I know which one you mean.
And we've got all these beautiful businesses. Yes. Yeah. So, what I'm feeling, and just touching on what Cyndi just said recently, is there's a real call for women wanting to be working from home again. And I'm saying women generally. I'm sure there's men included in that as well. But as far as your knowledge around recruiting and seeing that, have you seen a shift occurring in the energy and the presence around people wanting to work at home a lot more? Is that why you found that this has been working so I wouldn't say effortless altogether, but it's certainly been flowing with ease. So is that something that you've noticed?
Yes, yeah. And when I first started this, I was expecting to attract lots of mums, I was thinking mums, preschool kids, who can't really get out of the house to do a job because they've got the kids. But it turns out that we've got a lot of non-mums. I've got primalistas who work full-time and do this as a hobby. And I think there's a great desire. I think it attracts two types of women. One is a woman who just wants to come back into the home. They don't want to put on a uniform. They don't want to go and work for the man. These are things that they've said, not things that I'm saying. They don't want to go and put on a different face and a different uniform and work for the man. They want to do something that's really aligned with what they believe to be true. So there's a lot of people seeking that integrity, when it comes to their work. And I also think that this, actually Marcus Pierce suggested this, that this is a really good vehicle for people who want to help other people but don't necessarily want to go on and train as a professional, as a health professional, but they would want to contribute. And like you say, Cyndi, like, we don't really need health coaches. We need to learn how to cook, and we can do so much healing just by getting back to the foods that we evolved and thrive on as a species. So I think there's definitely that pull. And then I hear from a lot of women, and I was the same too, that women just want to be in their home. Like, they don't want to be leaving the house at 7:30 on a morning, quick kiss on the kid's head as they run out the door and rushing back in at 6:30 at night. Because when you're at home, yes, you can be baking, but you can have a load of washing going on in the background. While your fruit toast is cooking in the oven, you can knock out 20 minutes of yoga, have a shower, sit down and have a coffee. You know what I mean? You can do lots of multitasking as well as being at home and get the dinner on, that sort of thing. So I think it's answering lots of different needs that women are really feeling drawn to.
And tell me, as far as keeping that beautiful energy and ethos and incredible drive that you have within the business, how do you keep your team motivated and keep them all producing and baking? And do you have yearly conferences? How do you keep your team ticking?
Well, this might be, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun saying this, but it's almost like it's a self-motivated team, because I don't have any sales targets for the Primalistas, right? Because I'm all about women creating a business that serves them, right? So for some people, that means just one day bake, twice a month. So it's just a very, very small scale business. And so because of that, I don't really feel like I need to kind of inspire or motivate them to hit some amazing sales figures. In fact, I really encourage the Primalistas, that's the name I've got for the producers, to start slowly and not to try and, create this incredible business, because I think a lot of women are prone to pushing too hard and wearing themselves out and then getting a bit over it, So what I just find is that the sisterhood, we have a closed Facebook group for Primalistas to come together to celebrate success, hold each other accountable, and to obviously seek advice and offer advice. And I find that just sort of self-feeds itself, people really do feel inspired from that. I do do some coaching, and we have fun things happening in the Facebook group as well. And we called the Wellness Summit our annual conference. So that was quite fun. It was really handy for the Wellness Couch to put on all these amazing speakers for our conference, and we got to have dinner with you guys and Joan Fouad from Quirky Cooking. I was like, what a great annual conference. That was easy to pull off.
That's brilliant.
That's a great. I saw it as that for my team too.
Yeah. But it's so good. And those coming together, those events, like we're all buzzing from that, a month later. Like those sorts of events where we all get together and hang out. Oh, they're just like the best fun, aren't they?
They definitely are a lot of fun, I must admit. I had to leave. I had 24 hours, not even 24 hours there, and I had to leave, and I kept going, but I want to go to dinner with everybody and I want to stay. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you. There is a lot of fun in it. Definitely.
So much fun. I love it.
So tell us about what it would be like for someone who's, what do you call them, a primalista? I love it. Primalista.
I love it too.
Yeah, I do love it. So give us an idea of how long it would take. Like how many loaves of bread would they make and cookies would they make, and how long would it take them? So let's say 20 loaves, and if it was me, 100 cookies it'd have to be.
And 200, because you'd eat half of it.
Yeah, true. Let's make it 200.
That is a bit of a problem, actually. When people start making the cookies, there's usually a few posts on going, has anyone else had a problem with eating all the cookies? And then like a few guilty face emojis.
It's true.
It's true. Well, it's always a hard one to answer, to be honest, because every order that you get each week is slightly different. But for example, to make 2 loaves of, say, the fat and seedy bread, because that's the one you tried, Cyndi, that would take 10 minutes to prepare it. And that's preparing 2 loaves. So like I said, it's literally measuring in your ingredients, 30 seconds on speed 5 in the Thermomix, pour it into a tin, pop it in the oven. So it's really... if it's going to have to be like kneading things and waiting for things to prove and rise, nobody would do it. So it's got to be easy and replicable.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you know what's interesting
what
is
happens once it's cooked? What happens to that little loaf? Sorry.
What happens to it?
Go for it, Kim.
Well, then it would it gets cooled and bagged and labelled and either sold at a farmer's market, or it gets sent to a cafe where it's transformed into something amazing. That all the cafes do such amazing things with our products. Or it goes on our online shop and gets posted somewhere, or it gets sold in your local grocery store and goes home with a loving family.
But does the person, the primalista, do they have to manage the posting of that bread, or where it goes, or is that managed at a central place, and you go, oh look, I've got 2 loaves of this loaf in Albany and Perth, and I've got 400 biscuits coming out of Tasmania. Like, I'm just trying to work out how you coordinate all that.
Well, we're decentralized. So and it's a really unusual model, and I don't actually think I've seen it anywhere else. And when I'm trying to talk to ingredient suppliers about, negotiating better rates for bulk supplies, it's really hard for people to get their head around that. It's like, well, we want to buy a pallet of almond meal, but we want 40 boxes sent to Tasmania, 20 boxes sent to Victoria. Can we do that? And they're just like scratching their head going, what the hell? Because normally you would have a factory that was pumping everything out, and then it would be, dispatched across the country. So we're kind of like the other way around, like a kind of inside out version. So primalistas are responsible for everything. So they get the stockists, they deliver, they produce, distribute, market, they do everything. The only thing that's centralized is the online shop. So all of the orders come through our website on our online shop, and then that gets all of the orders get dispatched to the nearest primalista to where the customer is, so that they're getting the freshest and the most locally produced item. Yeah.
I just find that
nice.
That's what I was thinking. Nice. It's just the best. I have to. You made me think of something when you were talking about artisan, and I came down to Brisbane today, and I stopped at the local petrol station and went in to pay, and as always, there's lollies and candies and everything like that, and there was this artisan popcorn. Mm-hmm. It looked amazing. I thought, this is just brilliant, artisan popcorn. I flipped it over, looked at the ingredients, and there was nothing artisan about it. I could just, it drives you nuts, yeah. But it is wrong. They should
misleading.
Not be able. It's very misleading, and even the packaging, it sucked me in because I picked it up. I picked it up and thought, oh, wow. But most people are not going to do what I'm going to do. They're not going to look at the ingredients. They're going to go, oh, artisan popcorn. It must be good because artisan now, it is like natural, non-GMO, organic. Everybody thinks that these things are meaning that things are brilliant in the world of food. But in actual fact, there's a lot of these words that have no record about what they're meant to mean on a food package. And so every Tom, Dick and Harry is out there doing it. And it's so nice and refreshing, because I read your ingredients, and it's so nice and refreshing to know that there are people out there that are doing this right. And I remember when I did my cookbook back in the year 2000, like I'd been collecting recipes for 15 years. And it's very much an alignment with what you do. I would put the dry ingredients together, put the wet ingredients together, mix them together, throw it in the oven, you're done. Yes, exactly. That's all I want to do. And when you said that, I went, well, maybe I could just become one for myself. Can I become what am I, a primarian?
A primalista.
A primalista. Can I become a primalista just for myself?
Of course you can. Absolutely. You can be an honorary primalista. And it's funny, because I know, like Kim mentioned, I'm sure there's some guys out there that might be interested to come home as well, and it's so true. So I was thinking, oh God, what would a primalista guy be? And then Fuad came up with Primal Mister. We're like, how funny is that? Perfect. But we haven't had any Primal Misters yet, which, obviously this is open to everybody, but it really does seem to, appeal to women. It's I don't know. It's almost like a primal way. It's like going back to, like, sort of bypassing the factory industry and going the factory era, industrialization in that sense, and going back to kind of that cottage industry where somebody's lovely, nana down the road made these lovely home baked with love. I mean, there's something about that. I don't know if they can measure it with science yet, Cyndi. You might know, but like that vibe, that energy, when something's been lovingly made for you by somebody who's got the same kind of values as you. Like, what's that? Like, there must. I don't know if they can measure that yet, but there's something in that, isn't there? Like when you get something that's lovingly made by somebody in your family, it just tastes so much better and you feel so much better than when it's just been knocked out by a machine.
I think there's an energy, and you cannot, if you watch Dr. Jack Cruz, and we interviewed him 6 years ago. I can't remember, Kim, but it was a long time ago. But Jack Cruz, he's all about energy. He says it's all about electron transfers, and it's all. If we're not looking at that, then we're not looking at what is actually happening. And there, if you have, one of the bakeries that their home base is Melbourne, and from that home base, everything around Australia gets their bread, and the ingredients of it. Just thinking about that, and that you have a cottage industry in a community making the breads and the cookies, and then lovingly giving that to people. That, that number one, it hasn't been carted. It doesn't need preservatives. It has no anti-caking agents or whatever else that it needs in it. So in two levels, it's the energy on one, but it's also the food and the ingredients, and the fact that it hasn't traveled far and you get it fresh. And even our local bakeries, we know that they have premixes. They're not even doing the old-fashioned bakery. Like all of the chain bakers that are out there, they do premixes. Even small bakeries do premixes, because I've spoken to them. There are only a handful around the place that are artisans and are doing the old-fashioned way of baking, which is, that kneading process and the raising process. And if they're sourdoughs, they're not getting a premix sourdough. They're getting, they're having to make that sourdough. There's a lot of effort in that. So you're probably lucky you're not using wheat. That's all I can say.
What's with wheat?
Yeah, what's with wheat?
What is it?
Yeah, definitely. This is usually Kim's question, but I'd love to ask it now. Is there anything that, because we're coming to the end of our podcast, is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like our audience to know? We will talk about where they can contact you, but something that is in your heart, or something that you are compelled that you want to share with us right now.
Yes, I think the one thing that I would love to share is that no matter where you're at in terms of how you're feeling or how crap you're feeling, that just with some diet changes, some lifestyle changes, and a good community behind you, like community is a real big factor, I reckon, that you can really turn life around and do things that you didn't even think you were capable of. Because I think that when you really clean up your food and your lifestyle and get back to the foods that really help you thrive, you get rid of a lot of distortion and pain and brain fog and things that kind of hold you back from your true potential. And that when all of that's gone, you suddenly have a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of connection, a greater sense of fierceness to actually look your fears in their face and go, whatever, I'm going to do this anyway. And to really step out of your comfort zone, because the comfort zone's actually not that comfortable. Like, my comfort zone was a really anxious, depressed, fearful place. And the most fun I've had is popping out of that comfort zone and like walking on stage, for example, for the first time ever in front of 800 people at the Wellness Summit, and really like cacking my pants, but getting on stage and then coming off stage and being mobbed. It was like being like Cyndi O'Meara or Kim Morrison, just like people lining up to talk to me. I was like, this is fun. And this is, it's really a difference between existing and living. And holy crap, this way is so much more fun when you just really become a little bit, fearless and just, think, sod it, I'm going to give this a crack anyway. What have I got to lose? So I think that would be just do it anyway. It would be my message, my final message.
Oh, brilliant.
It is, and I think it's just so nice to see you trailblazing this. And I also would love to say to you that your children, they will be quietly admiring you, your husband, in your funny attempt at doing a Kiwi accent. I actually wasn't sure what you were trying to do.
Did I not pull it off? I wondered why you were laughing.
But
I thought I did that quite well, actually.
You're giving us inspiration and reminding us that anything is possible, and taking hold of an idea that I would love to finish by saying I agree with you on all levels, and I admire you wholeheartedly on behalf of Cyndi, Carren and I. And I just want to say to people that if you think, oh gosh, an idea is gone, or there's so many people out there doing it, or how could I ever do it now? There's never any of that, is there? There's always, if there's passion in your heart, fire in your soul, then, and you've got something to share with the world. It could be just 10 people that your business is platformed from, or it could be 1 million people. But the whole idea of it is if you've got something to share, then I just want to honour you for going out there and sharing it. And it was a privilege to hear you at the summit, and it's an absolute honour to have you on our show. And thank you. Thank you for being someone that we can share with our audience. It's really powerful.
Wow. You said that Kim. Beautifully, Kim. Yeah, I'm with Kim the whole way with that. And you're gung-ho, you're fun to be with, you know, I think about my functional nutrition students and how wonderful it would be for them to have this as part of what they're doing. So, you know, I'll make sure that they listen to this. I really do. And your group too, Kimmy. You know, it would be so good to have one primologist or whatever we are.
Primalista!
I'll get it one day.
Primologist. You're trying to turn it into a science, Cyndi, and primologists.
I think one in every town of Australia is needed. That's what I think. And I'm not talking about cities. I don't know how many we need in the cities, but every town. Now, for people to find you, I know you've said your website already, and I will put it on the show notes, but just let people know where to find you.
primalalternative.com, and on Facebook and Instagram as Primal Alternative.
Wonderful.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Cyndi. It's been beautiful to share this podcast with you. We've missed our Carren, but I'm sure she's with us energetically. And listeners, I just want to say, please make sure you follow our beautiful Helen and make sure you join in her community and what she's up to, because even if you don't become a primalistologist, you can always be inspired by the journey.
Will we ever get it right?
If you would like to follow us or place a comment on our Facebook page, remember, go to facebook.com/up-for-a-chat, or you can post comments on thewellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat. And if you are interested in joining us in Mount Blanc in 2020, then make sure you go to karensmith.com and what is the podcast for that, Cyndi? Not podcast, the website.
It's karensmith.com / but I can't remember what it is, but I just need you to know that I don't think there's any seats left.
Sold out already. Wow.
I'm not sure. I think, I just had 4 people say they were coming, so that leaves us with 1, and I had 1 this morning say they were coming. So they're going to have to get in pretty quick if people want to. If just in case somebody can't come,
money is where the mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically we had 5 seats left. I've been told that there are 5 people who want them, and they are people that have already been on our trips. So I know what they're like, and they were going, we want to come. I went, well, ring Carren. So what I would, let me look it up. No, I don't even know how to look it up. Sorry. I'll put it on the show notes. There you go.
I think what we should recommend. Yes, put it in the show notes. But I also would like to say that, things happen in life. 2020 is a long way off. And even if you are someone who's listening to this and think, actually, I'd really love that, then we will have a wait list for a few people, because I know with my trip to France next year, there's been a few shifts and changes as well. So please go to karensmith.com or place any questions in our Facebook group and the Up for a Chat page, because that's where we can return the questions. So Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast with the beautiful Helen Marshal as much as we have. Cyndi, have you got anything else you wanted to say?
Oh, no. I just think it was an amazing podcast, and I've learnt so much. And I just want to thank everybody for listening to this and tuning in to the best podcast in Australia.
Thank you so much. Seriously, I'm so grateful. When you were talking about the Wellness Couch being the number one ranked health and wellness station in Australia, it's like, you girls must be like 90% of making those statistics happen to have, 2.5 million listeners, and you've been going for 6 years, 7 years, a long time. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. And I've got
Doesn't feel that long to us.
Oh, well, it's just because it's all natural and it's easy for you. But I've admired you, all three, and you too, Carren, if you're tuning in, to the episode. I admired you so much. So to be here and chatting to you is just such an honour, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And thanks for listening, listeners, too. Mwah!
Yeah. So, listeners, please tune in again next week, same time, same channel, and become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We'll see you on the ride.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.